Welcome back, everybody, to my YouTube channel, Patricia Monna, Intuitive Consulting. Today, I have the wonderful Susan Reynolds, who does astrology, and we are going to do a little bit of looking into what April has in store for us. It has definitely been a shaky past few weeks. The energy definitely feels like it's ramping up. So it's great to have a tune in and be able to see what's going on. So welcome back, Susan. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. Well, all I can say is if you thought March was exciting, you ain't seen nothing yet
Oh, Lord.
because April takes it to another level. And so we have several astrological events happening in April, and the thing is they're happening together. So it's like all clumped right here at once, which kind of amps up the energy and we feel it even stronger. So the
Wow.
first thing that most people are going to notice is that on the 21st of April, Mercury is going to turn retrograde. I know we all love this so much.
Oh, Lordy.
Mercury is the planet that rules our communication, it rules our day-to-day activities. And if we were in a country that was not very, oh, let me unplug my phone. Sorry, I just totally forgot about it.
No
If
worries.
we were in a country where we didn't do very much, or maybe just looked at the sunset every day, might not be a big issue. But most of us watching this, you and I, are certainly in countries that are pretty industrialized. And our day consists of driving someplace, being on the computer, being on the phone, being on our iPad. We are having appointments, we are scheduled, we have busy lives,
Hmm.
all of which are ruled by Mercury. So when Mercury goes retrograde, and when I use the word retrograde, it means that it looks like the planet is going backwards instead of forwards. It's not really doing that. But from the point of view of the Earth, it looks like the planet is going backwards. And it means that the energy of that planet is not forward and direct and clear. It's kind of going underground. So when you relate that energy to our everyday life, appointments get missed. Our cell phone has a problem. Our computer acts wonky. We have misunderstandings with friends. We get confused. We forget what we were supposed to be doing. We're not on this straight and narrow clicking along. We're like, what did I come into this room for? But we're like that instead of for a moment, for weeks, because Mercury is going to be retrograde from April 21st until May 14th. It is going to be retrograde in Taurus. And Taurus has a strong financial vibe to it. So I'm going to say between that period when it's retrograde, keep your receipts. Don't trust the bank. Look at your statement.
Okay.
Ask questions. Follow up. If it has anything to do with money, don't take it for granted because
So,
there could be a problem.
well, that's what I was going to ask. It's interesting because last year I predicted that there was going to be some banks that were crashing and to definitely diversify your portfolio so that it's not all sitting in one account. But could April also be a month where we see more, bank casualties?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Think of the first two letters of retrograde, R-E, re. It is when we redo something. It is when we go back over something. So we may see something with the SVB bank that we may have to go back over that. We may see something come up again. We may see information that was not available before now come up. And we have to, oh, they were doing this. Lots of times when we're in a retrograde period, stuff that was hidden from view somehow makes its way to the forefront. So we may have new paperwork that sheds light on certain things. We may see certain, people talking about things they weren't supposed to be doing. Yes, this can happen in terms of any bank, anybody that deals with money. This may, happen at the post office. If you're mailing something and you mailed it, keep your receipt because they're going to say, we never got it, pay again. And you need to keep your receipt. I was mailing a quilt from my grandmother to somebody and the post office lost it, which doesn't happen often, but it happened. And so I had my receipt, like I was so excited. Okay, you're going to pay me. And they're like, well, you have to provide the receipt of the item. I'm like, well, I never got a receipt from my granny, so
Yeah.
they wouldn't pay me anything.
No
This is,
way.
they would not pay for it. You have to be able to prove the value of the item.
Oh,
So if you're
wow.
insuring your item, you have to be able to prove the value of that item. So that's what I mean about misunderstandings. I don't think the post office is trying to take advantage of me, but I just assumed if I had the insurance, we're good.
Yeah, for sure.
Not so much.
These,
That's why I say during retrograde periods, say things multiple times, language it back. So what I hear you saying is, and if possible, follow it up with an email or a text. So there's something in writing, kind of thing. Many sensitive people start to pick up this energy earlier than the 21st. So some people listening to this may be like, I'm already in that energy. Yes. Totally not surprised. There is something called shadow of the retrograde. And this usually begins about a week before the actual retrograde. So this would be, if it starts on the 21st, that would be like what, April 14th. And then it can last for up to a week after the retrograde. That energy is not as strong, but pay attention to it. Because sometimes I'll get clients go, you said it wouldn't start until the 21st and it's the 18th and I should be good. I'm like, well, you still want to cover yourself kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you're communicating clearly. So I know you work with the public and have appointments. There are more missed appointments. There are more, I don't know how you schedule, but you might want to leave like extra time to have to reschedule somebody who thought the appointment was at 2:30 instead of 3:30 kind of thing.
gotcha.
Because people just, they aren't paying attention, or they could have sworn that it was this and it's not. And that's why I say, as much as possible, clarify, keep records, keep your receipts, especially be careful about your money and all financial things. As we see this in our life, we will see this in business, we will see this in government, we will see this in banking, because all of them deal with money. Whatever you're doing professionally, chances are somebody's, trying to turn a profit in that profession. So they can be, oh, the bonuses this year are going to be delayed, or, this isn't going to work out the way we thought, or we're going to have to reassess how we pay commission kind of thing. So just wait it out. The best you can do is to not get upset, leave extra time for whatever you're doing. If you're traveling, leave extra time. The plane is late, the pilot got delayed, traveling can be stressful anyway, even when Mercury is direct. So allow extra time, take a deep breath. This is going to pass, but it's annoying. And all these little day-to-day things, they're the day-to-day things that make up our day. When our computer isn't working or we can't send an email, that's annoying. So it's not major horrible things, but they are things that bother us. That doesn't mean there's not good energy there in a retrograde Mercury. It may bother our day-to-day outward appointments and things, but it's good for several things. One of the things I love to do, and I do often on retrograde Mercury, is I go back to old projects. Because I'm a cardinal sign, I'm a Cancer in astrology, and I'm famous for starting things and getting, halfway done. I'm bored now. I'm going to go on to something else.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of half-done projects about things. During retrograde periods, I go back to them. Sometimes I'll go back to a needlepoint project I started last year, or maybe I'll think about writing something about that book I put down a few months ago, kind of thing. It's a good time to finish things up. Go back to what you didn't get a chance to do and do it. It's also a good time for meditation. It's a good time for going within. It's a good time for having a reading, because the energy goes within.
Yeah.
So if you can call Patricia, she's probably all booked up, but if you can, it's a wonderful time to sort of look at yourself in that new way. You may have deeper dreams. You may have those aha moments of insight because we've slowed down. I remember in 2020, when the world was kind of stopped for a few months, during those months when we weren't leaving the house and businesses were shuttered and the world was sort of in a place it had never been before, I was hunkered down at home like everybody else. But like every week I was getting a new insight. Every week I was like, oh my God, that's why I do this. Like I'd gotten quiet enough to have these insights start to come up. So if you can make your life a little easier and not schedule the big birthday party or the big event during the Mercury retrograde, do that and give yourself some quiet time, because it can be a lovely time for inner truth, inner understanding, deeper wisdom. But yeah, we may get annoyed that our package didn't arrive and our dentist forgot our appointment, kind of thing. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm also going to say one of the big things about April is the solar eclipse.
Okay.
We have a solar eclipse, a new moon solar eclipse on the 20th, which is the day before the Mercury retrograde. So we're already in the retrograde energies with the shadow of the retrograde. Then we have this eclipse right on top of it. It's like, boom, it's all coming together. So April is going to be a powerful month. Not a bad month, but a powerful one. We get a solar eclipse when the sun is eclipsed. You know, like the moon gets between the earth and the sun. And as it gets between that, it eclipses. And there could be a shadow on the earth because the light of the sun is eclipsed. Now, in ancient times, eclipses were considered to be bad omens and portents of doom for those in power, for kings and queens and emperors and what have you. So we can look at the different countries and see what's happening with Trudeau, what's happening with Biden, what's happening with Putin, what's happening with the royal family, people whose names we may see in the news and realize they're the leaders and the prime ministers and what have you, because those are our kings and queens basically in this day and age, and see if something's going on. Because depending on how that eclipse falls, it can have a very big effect on those in power. Now, that may also be those who are the CEO of your company. You know, power happens in a lot of different levels. We may never hear about that on the news, but we say, oh my God, he just retired or decided to do this out of the blue. What happened? I call eclipses astrological wormholes because they take us from one reality to a different reality in the blink of an eye. Wow. They're powerful. Yeah. And some people are afraid of them, but I like them. I actually am one of those people that like eclipses, because what it does is it gives us an opportunity to make great changes in a short period of time. Makes sense. This is eclipse season. And as this eclipse comes forward, it is falling at 29 degrees Aries. Aries is a very bold energy. It's a very forceful energy. It's kind of an in-your-face energy. It doesn't mess around with tactful words and, well, if it's okay with you, I'll do that. Aries knows how to move in and take charge. They're very direct. I don't like you. They're just going to say it out loud, you know. Okay. But they're also very courageous. You know, they're very passionate. They're wonderful leaders. They're wonderfully inspiring people. So like every sign, it has its high side and it has its more shadow side. Yeah. So as this comes in, it's going to come in at 29 degrees, which is the last degree that it can come in. So it's like an ending. 29 degrees is the ending of something. In astrology, a sign will go 0 to 29. Then it's done. It goes like 0 to 29 of the next sign. It doesn't go to like 31, 32, 33. Oh, interesting. This is it. This is the last degree of this sign. So we have an energy of beginnings, which is Aries, and an energy of endings, which is at 29 degrees. Wow. So we have an opportunity to both begin new projects and finish up things that have sort of been hanging around or we haven't gotten to yet. Now, this is just me. This is the astrology according to Susan. Okay. Some signs are going to react to this a bit more strongly than other signs. So I think Aries is going to react very strongly to this. If you were born under the sun sign of Aries, I think you're going to notice this. I don't mean in a negative, horrible way. I think it's going to empower you more. I think all the cardinal signs are going to notice this: Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. I think this eclipse is going to come in. It's going to kind of push them a little bit. It's going to activate them. So I think those signs, we all to some degree, but maybe those 4 signs a little bit more, are going to have an opportunity to change our thinking, to look at something in a new way, to say, oh, I was always afraid of this, but you know what? I'm going to do it. because we get to look at the courage of this sign.
Mhm.
And Aries is super courageous, very physical, very courageous. They will watch out for the underdog. They're protectors. They're the ones rushing into the burning building. You know,
Sure.
I'm a Cancer. I'm making snacks for the firefighters in the back. But those Aries, boy, they're going to rush right in.
Yeah.
So think about the things in your life that you're scared to do, that you're a little nervous about.
Yeah.
Oh, I know I deserve to be promoted, but oh, I'm a little scared to talk to my boss about that. Or now this energy comes in and you're like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make an appointment. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try out for the school play. I'm going to sing the solo at church. I'm going to go whitewater rafting. We get the courage of Aries in a way that we can own. What are the parts of your life that you want to empower? Because that's how you can use this eclipse.
Ah,
Now, if it's not too nosy, and you do not have to answer this, Patricia, if you do not want to,
that's okay. Ask away.
what sign are you?
I'm Taurus. I May
Okay,
20th.
see, I would have never thought of that. I see more as a Gemini.
Oh, I'm on the cusp. Ah, you're good. You're really good. I'm May 20th. I'm right on the cusp. That is awesome. Yes, and I would definitely say I'm a lot more Gemini. Oh, I see the Taurus in me. I see the Taurus in me. But I do. I've got a lot of Gemini in me for sure. That's really cool that you pegged that. Yeah, I'm right on the cusp.
Right there. So you have both, and you've managed to use both those energies in good ways. And so, being a sun sign Taurus, but on the cusp, this eclipse is going to fall in your 12th house because that's where Aries is. And the 12th house in astrology is a hidden area of the chart that's very mystical. It's very magical. It's very woo woo.
Very cool.
It's very psychic and intuitive and all about our dreams and our guides and connecting to the other side. So there can be great breakthroughs for you, or those wonderful moments where we're like, oh, and something is shown to us and we get it. You
Yeah.
can also be bold about going within, because we want to use the boldness of Aries. But for Taurus, it's going to be in the 12th house. So they may say, okay, I'm going to start a class on how to go within or develop my intuition, because Aries wants to act. Some of the signs, they want to think about it a little bit.
Mhm.
Other signs just want to act immediately. Aries is one of those signs that wants to act immediately.
Well, it's interesting that you bring this up because actually, the whole month of April, I'm teaching my quantum psychic remote viewing the Matrix series and it starts on April 10th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. It's online for anybody who's interested in joining. Just sign up through my website at www.patriciamona.com. But Susan, you're right. I'm teaching the whole series every Monday, and then in June, I'm actually doing a ladies' weekend retreat where I'm teaching it out just outside of town. And so, yeah, you're good. You're good.
That is the most positive way to use this energy. I love that you are taking this energy and working with it in this way. I would look, folks, if you're listening to this, I would sign up for this because this is going to be powerful. This is happening right there at the time this eclipse is bringing stuff up. So not only might you, Patricia, have a more powerful voice during that time, but the people attending may have their own magical moments. They
Yeah.
may have their own breakthroughs.
Well, I do believe that each group, every time I teach this, it's very different because I can feel the energy of each person that signs up. And during the course, like at the end of each class, we do, well, sometimes it's at the beginning, sometimes it's at the end, but a meditation to deepen that connection to the quantum field and to be able to access the information in the quantum field. And we set up a grid where it becomes very, very powerful um, for each and every one of us to be able to plug in and go in. So yeah, that's really cool that it's going to be such an auspicious time of and with powerful energy because working in the quantum field, it changes your life. It really does. When you actually see that this stuff is real and that you can access information from 3,000 years ago or in 100 years from now. It's timeless. There's no time in that quantum field, right? So anything that has ever been thought of, done, action, anything, it and everything has been recorded in this quantum field. And it's just a matter of knowing how to be able to access the information. So anyone watching and wants to sign up, that's going to be a really, really cool course. And apparently at a really cool time to do it. So thank you for bringing that up,
This is a great time to do it. I love it. I think the people going are going to have wonderful experiences, dramatic experiences, but I'm also going to remind you, remember, Mercury's going to be retrograde. Make sure you keep your list of everybody who's signed up. Make sure you have your paperwork because somebody forgot the time, or, double check everything because they could be those little boo-boos. I mean, I teach, I don't teach as much as you, or I don't think I'm as good as a teacher as you are because you're fabulous. But anybody who's teaching a class, whether it's a reader like we are, whether it's somebody teaching third grade, they're going to run into this. Anybody who has to deal with the public is going to maybe see this a little bit more. So somebody's going to say, oh, I thought it was such and such, no, and we're just going to be patient with that because you may have to say more than once. I'm sorry. May 14th. And then remember, it begins on the 21st of April, finishes on the 14th of May. So that's what, about 3 or 4 weeks. And then you got the little shadow side of the retrograde on either end. But remember what I said about retrograde energies are good for going within. They're good for inner work, which is how you're using them. You're using them the best way possible, kind of thing. And you're balancing it beautifully. I love this. I love seeing it come out in such a great way. Even though the eclipse technically, this new moon solar eclipse technically happens on the 20th, people start to react to this a couple of days, 2 or 3 days beforehand. And so I usually give it about 3 days before the eclipse, 3 days after. So you almost get like an eclipse week, 3 days leading up, eclipse, 3 days sort of powering down. Different people are going to experience this at different levels. But remember, most of the people who are working with a reader or watching a show, they're looking within. They're seeking to grow. They're asking questions about life. But not everybody is doing that. So the shadow side of Aries is anger. Aries is the sign that is ruled by Mars. Mars is the planet of war. Mars is, I don't like you, I'm punching you in the nose kind of thing. Very direct. So you may see more people out there in the world losing their temper or being more irritated or being more impatient. So you go to the grocery store to pick up some milk and something for dinner, and some woman is yelling at the grocery store because they don't have her favorite brand of peanut butter or something. And you're thinking, what is going on with that woman?
Well,
she's experiencing this.
It's interesting that you say that because I've noticed, because I can see people's auric field and see energy, and rage and anger has a very specific frequency and very specific color to it. And I got to say, there's a lot of people holding back anger and rage lately. Yeah, what's bubbling inside is going to come out. And that's what I saw actually for April and May, where it's literally like shaking out the proverbial rug and the dust, see where it settles. But all the hidden stuff is coming to light, in personal ways, in professional ways, and in global ways. I think that people are going through a massive shift, and one of the things that people don't like is shifting, right? They don't like change, especially the ones that refuse to change. So of course that's rage and anger and everything that's coming up. It's coming up to be addressed. And you see it in the way people are driving and the attitudes that's happening. Like you said, even at the store, it's crazy how much that is happening now, or how much I've even observed just in Calgary. So.
Oh, the last time Mars was hitting my chart in a certain way, I went to the grocery store and I was at the deli counter, waiting to be waited on. And for some reason, this woman wouldn't wait on me. And I was just furious, like she's just cleaning that machine and she's just deliberately turning her back on me. And I was
Yeah.
getting more and more irritated at this woman. And suddenly I realized, what are you doing, Susan? She's just cleaning the machine before she waits on you. Like, get a grip. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in the midst of Aries energy. I'm in the midst of Mars kicking my keister, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we may be more easily irritated. No, we may not erupt in rage at the cashier, but we may find ourselves being more impatient, more irritated. Why isn't this line moving? Can somebody help me, please? It just,
Yeah.
we may have a little tone in our voice that other people recognize, even though we don't.
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody may ask us if we're angry. Like, no, I'm not angry, which doesn't really reassure anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
So it is a time when exactly what you said, when all those emotions we've been pushed down start to come out.
Mhm.
And in a way, that's good. Hiding or pretending or, not addressing something doesn't usually work long term. So it's a good time to bring things up and talk about it, but you want to do this on your terms. You don't want to erupt in rage at your boss because they scheduled you over your vacation again. You want to think about it, take a deep breath, and go, okay, we're going to talk about this like rational human beings.
Yeah.
And yeah, and think about if you're a spouse, you've got some kids, you kids' friends are over, and they're fighting, and you're like, why is everybody in such a bad mood?
Mm.
You have to find a way to direct that anger, or to direct that action, to direct that impatience. And so what I say is do something physical. Wash the car, clean the house, go to the gym, go for a run or a hike, take up kickboxing, do something physical. Oh, you could grab your spouse and head to the bedroom. There's the passion of Aries. So you want to take that energy and use it on your terms. You don't want it to own you. You want to own this. I
Mhm.
love the courage of this sign because it's going to give us the strength and the confidence to go forward into directions that it might take us years to get to otherwise. Eclipses happen in pairs. And there's one eclipse, the solar eclipse is happening in April. There's a lunar eclipse happening in May, which we'll talk about in May if I'm invited back again for May. But there are more eclipses in October. So understand that the actions you take now, the decisions you're taking now in April around this eclipse time, you may see the results of those in October. You may not see immediate results. Well, Susan told me to take a chance and I tried out for the choir and I didn't get it, booey on her. But then in October, somebody may say, oh, do you want to sing this? Or we'd love to have you sing at this wedding or this bar mitzvah or whatever. We may see results of something in the fall, in October, that we began now.
Okay.
If you have a birthday near this eclipse on the 20th, like a couple of days before or after, this eclipse is going to be a little bit more powerful in your chart. You're going to notice it a little bit more. And that's a good thing because when we understand what the energy is, we're empowered because now it doesn't own us. We own it. We know what's going on. We're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to finish the book and do a K run, a 12K run or something. I'm going to take this energy. I'm going to use it to make my life better, which is what Aries wants to do. And so we have confidence where we may lack that. We're unafraid where we may be holding ourselves back. So this is powerful. And the fact that it's coming right next to the Mercury energy, I would say we may have a powerful few days there, not only in terms of our own life, but we may see things going on nationally and internationally. With the retrograde energy and that Mars being so forceful and fighting spirit kind of thing, we may see something going on in Ukraine or Russia. Re-go over. They may be going back over old battlefields or back over land that was taken by this side or that side. Something may be coming up again that they thought was settled.
Okay.
So we'll see this in the world, just like you talked about with the banking.
Yeah. Well, there is. There's so much change that I think is going to happen, especially over these next 7 years. Because we were it's like we're ending an era almost, and 2023 we're walking into a new chapter. And you know, yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of changes over the next 7 years, and it'll be a world that um, that I don't know, that you read about in those fiction books.
Science fiction.
Yeah,
Remember last
science
month
fiction.
I
That's the
talked
word.
about Pluto going into Aquarius, which has never happened in our lifetime before.
Mhm.
Now, it's only going to be there this year until June, but then it comes back in January 24 and stays there for the next 20 years. So
Wow.
we're going to, excuse me, we're going to see this new Aquarius energy show up in our lives in the next couple of decades. And Aquarius is a sign that rules the future. And it rules things that we look at as make believe right now, flying cars. I
So
think we're going to see either science working with the mind. How do we combine the mind and science? Maybe if somebody's in a wheelchair, they can use their mind to program the wheelchair. They're going to start looking at the power of the mind. And one of the things I think we're going to start to see more of is telepathic communication.
yes.
I think sometime in the next 7 years, like you're talking about, we're going to see scientific studies published about telepathic communication. And it's going to be a real thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, though, that silly stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I'm
definitely.
going to say, I don't know if I ever mentioned this, and I'm going to apologize if I mentioned this last month because I can't even remember what I said, but I look a lot at the teachings of Edgar Cayce, and he was a seer that lived in the 1930s, and he's well documented. And he said, if two people would meditate together at the same time, they don't have to be in the same place, but the same time, every day for 15 days, they would be forever telepathically connected.
Wow.
And that sounds like a very easy thing to do.
Yeah.
It is not. I will tell you, it is not. Because we all lead busy lives and we're traveling, we're going, and we've got this and we've got that. And I had tried to do this multiple times over the years with different friends, and we'd start out 2 or 3 nights doing great, and we'd forget the fourth night. And by the 10th night, we were, not even looking at it anymore. And one time, I guess it was about 15 years ago, a friend of mine in another state, a few states over, and I decided we were going to do this. And we picked a time and we did it. Like every night for 15 nights, we did it.
Wow.
And it was amazing. And we are still 15 years later telepathically connected.
Oh, wow. So it worked.
Like he will call me up and go, "What's going on? You need to talk to me." Not I need to talk to you. You need to talk to me. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we'll
We'll
give it
pick
a
each
shot.
other up. So if you can do that, it sounds easy. It's much more challenging than it sounds like. But after like the fourth night,
Yeah.
we started calling each other after the meditation. And I would be like, "Did you see that?" Like we would both see some light or something happening in the meditation. By the sixth or seventh night, I could tell if he was there, and he could tell if I was there. And then we started calling each other after the meditation. And so he goes, "I'm so sorry. I got in late. I was only a few minutes late." And say, "I know you came in right there." Like I could tell him where it was coming in.
Wow.
So yes, very powerful stuff, very big stuff.
That's amazing. Yeah, everyone's got an energetic signature. Every single
Yes.
one of us. And if we know the energetic signature of that person that we're tuning into, oh gosh, you can literally merge your consciousness with them and look through their eyes. So I haven't heard of that technique of practicing before, but I'm definitely going to mention that to my students because that's super cool. And hopefully see some results. But yeah, I totally believe it. It's the same thing when why is it that one twin can be in Canada and another one's in Japan and they know when they are in
Yes.
trouble, they can feel it, they know it, right? I think that the more, whether it's DNA that you hold with that person or the more love or both that you hold with that
Oh,
person, because love is a major carrier frequency, and it operates faster than the speed of light. So it's definitely a way to be able to um, pass telepathy back and forth through love.
Now, you and I have maybe known this or worked with this for a few years, but in the coming 7 years that you're talking about, we're going to see science and respected institutes of learning and even colleges start to look at this. How do we work with this? Why does this happen? Why can somebody pick this up or somebody know this is what somebody's thinking about? It's going to start to gain respectability, I guess is what I want to say.
Well, and it's
We're
about
going to start to
time.
see
It's
that.
about time. I mean, this has been around a lot longer, since the beginning of time. And I'm sure way back when we used to be way better at it than we are now. We're way more disconnected as a society and as a human race. So it'd be really nice to get back to our roots and be able to, pick up the phone that
Do
way.
that. We are so overwhelmed with energy and information coming at us. There's, 67, channels on regular television and another 142 with the different,
Yes.
Netflix and Prime and all of this. And we've got the phone, we've got our computer, we're just overwhelmed with information. And I know you do this as well as I do it. You have to stop sometimes and just get quiet,
Yes.
because otherwise your mind just gets too scattered and you start to just react instead of stopping to think about it.
Yeah.
And especially in the work that we do, we really get into our clients' energy field. Sometimes we need to be doing that to do our work, but we have to be able, all of us, to get quiet sometimes and to get peaceful so we can listen to that voice trying to get through to us, that still small voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, be careful about your anger. Instead of anger, use it as a passion for getting something done and for working on something and for asking for what you want. When we start to verbalize what we're seeking to accomplish, it makes things go much easier.
Yeah. 100%.
I've had clients ask me, why can't my angels and guides just do that? Don't they know? And I'm like, they're not allowed to just move in and take over your life.
Yeah.
Well, communication is good.
We live in the world of free will, so we got to figure it out
Yes.
ourselves and take responsibility too for the choices that we make, because that's another thing that I see coming up around people is they're either in denial mode still, or their eyes are waking up to the fact that guess what, we're all creating our reality. Every step we take, every choice that we make moment to moment, we are creating our reality. And so some people got to take accountability for the reality that they've created, right? Whether it be a mess in the past or a mess currently, it doesn't need to be that way in the future. So I think that there's a lot of cleanup. That's where the transitional energy is coming in too. A lot of people cleaning up their lives and realizing, okay, this isn't working for me anymore. This is what needs to shift out of here. So yes, huge epiphanies and realizations, especially if you go within and quiet your mind. I definitely feel that energy is coming in. We do have a lot of celestial support. We really do. But I think that it is by your faith you are saved through grace, that Bible verse, because it's true. It's with your faith. Who are you connected to? Who are you listening to? What is your source of the information that you're pulling in and the epiphanies that you're getting? Who is your source? Because if you know who your source is and you know who you're vibrating with, it's a whole world of information and complete different reality that you can create when you're in divine alignment instead of walking, on a path from yesterday that wasn't working. Tomorrow it's getting so much better in over these next few months, but people got to get through this energy. I definitely feel that over the summer months, people are going to have a reprieve. I know we'll talk about it when we get there, but I scan my months. I can scan my months. I can scan backwards and I can scan forwards, and I can feel which months have just feel heavier or feel lighter. Like I said, I know nothing about astrology, so this fascinates me, and I love our conversations. I'm definitely learning from you because I just feel it. I feel it and I see it, right? So it's nice to be able to have the deeper understanding of why we are reacting, when we are reacting to what we are reacting to. Because the really neat thing, and one of the things actually that kind of keeps me up at night, is thinking to myself, people don't realize nothing could be different. Nothing could be different. Because had anything been different than the reality that we are currently living, you wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be here, the people watching this wouldn't be here. Think about it this way. If your great, 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 great grandparents didn't have sex when they got busy with it, if they didn't make that decision at that moment in time, you wouldn't be here. Had anything
Absolutely.
been different, you wouldn't be here. That's the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night, is being able to see from that higher perspective of how it's all connected,
Yes.
literally, right down
Awesome.
to dropping something and picking it up at that exact moment in time. So this
Butterfly
experience,
effect.
it totally is 100%. Whoever wrote that movie is brilliant, because that is really how it is. Another really good chick flick that is kind of along the same lines of that is Sliding Doors with Gwyneth
I
Paltrow.
was just thinking about that.
That's another really good
When
movie
we're like,
that
she
kind of
catches the
shows it.
train or she doesn't catch the
Yes,
train.
yes. Mm.
We never know how
So we
something
don't.
seemingly inconsequential makes a huge difference.
You think about it, like why is it that we're attracted to some people and then no, not others? One person in a crowd of 1,000 people will stand out to you, and there's just something there, right? Like, I still remember the day I met my husband. I was 16 years old. And I knew I was staring at the man I was going to marry. I knew it. I had to convince him. but, but
Thankfully, you did.
I did. This is almost 30 years later, and it just, when you know. And that's one of the things I try to tell my clients. Listen for what you know, not what you think. Not what you think. Because when you know, it is a something something that just clicks into you, and you just know it to be truth. Truth hits so much different in the body than something that you're not supposed to be doing does. So that's where I think that people are going to have a lot more epiphanies and realizations about how it is all connected. Because I gotta say, there's a lot of people waking up in droves right now. And I think that that's why people like you and I are so busy, because we went through it. We've been there, done that. A few years back, we did the snotty balling on the floor, figuring it out who we are, and
Yeah.
in that state of becoming. We always are. We're always in that state of becoming, but we processed it so that we could turn around and help others understand their path just as well as we know ours now. So we got a lot
I
of
will
teaching to do
say
out
it often, I don't know if you run into this, but sometimes, I don't know how to language this. I'm struggling a little bit. We are working with what we know we are supposed to be doing.
there.
And that is a wonderful feeling. But because we are doing it and hopefully doing it well, sometimes people don't realize that it often takes some effort to listen to your guides or to go in a certain direction. And it's not always easy.
Yeah.
My parents, my family were not thrilled when I said I'm going to be an astrologer.
Yeah.
And it's not always socially acceptable. You
Mhm.
have to have that courage that Aries can give us to move forward into something that other people may laugh at.
Yeah.
I'm a Reiki master and I work with Reiki healing energies sometimes. And my brother-in-law just poo-poos that nonsense, which is fine. We get along. He's a lovely man. But he got sick. And then he was like, well, Susan, can you do that stuff you do, whatever it is? So you have to kind of have the confidence to keep going sometimes, even when you're not getting the answer, even when you're not getting confirmation. And it's what you were talking about having the faith to say, this is right. I know this is what is right for me. This is my truth, and following through on that. People think that just is easy. It's not. It's sometimes very difficult. Years ago, I was watching an Oprah episode, and there was a woman on there who had just left corporate America and started her own business and made a fortune. And she was like, oh, I was all booked up with clients within 2 weeks. I had 8 months worth of clients. And when I started out, in 2 weeks, I had nobody.
Yeah.
And so maybe one person. So we tend to think it's just supposed to all flow and that we're not going to have any challenges,
Mhm.
but we will. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean we're on the wrong path. It
Mhm.
means those challenges are there to help us grow, to develop. I was talking to Patricia, this just before we started to record this, and we were talking about listening within, and we were talking about guides. And I said, my life has never gotten better by not listening to my guides.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
I have sometimes gotten information that I'm like, what did you just tell me I'm supposed to do? Okay, if you think that's right. So when you do that, and I tell people this all the time, when you follow through on what your higher guidance is telling you and what your inner voice is telling you, and you are doing that, it doesn't matter so much if the outcome was what you thought it was going to be. If you get that whisper, oh, you should take the shortcut home tonight, and you take the shortcut home tonight, and it turns out to be an accident on the road, and you're an hour late, and you go, oh, screw my inner voice, this didn't work. It did, because regardless of the outcome, you listened and followed through on what you were getting. And that's what you need to do to develop that voice.
Mhm.
You know this, I know this, because this is
Totally
how
agree.
we live our lives. But
Yeah.
it's not always easy, and it's not always comfortable. And so you have to keep at it. But I agree with you 100%. We are seeing and will continue to see major shifts in spiritual understanding and awakening this year in 23 and in 24 and going into 25. We are having Saturn going into Pisces, and Pisces is mystical and spiritual, and Saturn is very grounded. So we are seeing people learn about spirit, learn about their higher self, lift up to a higher energy, but use it in their daily life.
Yeah. That's good. It's about time. It is. We got to get back to that. We got to get back to our roots for sure. And it's funny, last night I did a divine connection and protection class, and maybe I've still got it. Let me just read you the channeled message that
Okay.
I was given right before the class started. Oh, please tell me I have it here.
Well, while you're looking for that, I'm going to say very quickly that if you want to know what is going on with your sign in the month of April, you can go to my website, which is exploreastrology.com. And I've already posted free predictions for every sign for the month of April. So you can just look at what's going on with your sign. You don't have to join anything or pay anything. It's just something I share with the world.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And thank you. Thank you for your offering to humanity, because I think it's very important that people have clarity on their life and astrology. It's been wonderful learning this stuff from you. Totally wonderful. Um, so this was the little tidbit that was given to me right before I did a class last night. It says, we are interdimensional beings brought here and incarnated into specific into specific family lines and bodies that hold specific elements of DNA that vibrate with a higher light and the soul path that we are here to walk on. The body is our vehicle to get our mission completed. We have a certain job to do to wake up humanity within the ascension process. Our DNA resonates a certain frequency, which activates an awakening just by being in your presence. You can cause people to think differently about their reality, creating higher timelines for them. And it's true. When you take your light and people, it literally becomes something that you can see in a person, right? When they are exuding love and they are exuding that light. And it's true, when I look at what was written, just your presence can help to shift the way a person feels or thinks. And then it's like a ripple effect all through their life, right? Whether it's they go home and treat their loved ones differently because of your influence or the energy that you showed them, right? So wherever you are, light workers unite. We are one forceful light reckon to, to be reckoned with when we come together and pray together, lift each other up, and ignite each other. And I think that that's definitely what we're here to do. So, whether it's on an individual basis, you're shining your light, or we're coming together as a group, I think that there's very important work that's got to be done right now. And definitely the human angels are waking up. People that
Oh yeah.
are supposed to bring heaven to earth, they're here. And now it's just a matter of going, come on, come on, come on, we got work to do. So,
I see people getting more and more excited about sharing their gifts. And they don't have to be metaphysical gifts. They are sharing their gift of storytelling or making jewelry. Or one of my clients makes the most beautiful quilt. It may be your gift of being a good neighbor, or baking great cakes or cookies, or it doesn't have to be what we're doing. It just has to be what brings you joy, what lights you up inside. And the
100%.
more that we can feed that and do that, the more we are spreading that circle. This year, I will say, it's interesting what you said. I'm going back to what you said about the summer, because this year I see astrologically the year really divided into two sections: January through June, and then July through December. So I see them in two different ways doing two different things,
I agree with you.
because it is after June that Pluto is going to go back into Capricorn. And through June, it is more of the new energies, more of different things, being avant-garde, expressing yourself. And then July through December, it's a little bit more traditional, a little bit more like, okay, how is this going to work? A little bit more grounded. And also at the end of June is when Saturn is going to go retrograde. So when I talked about this new Saturn in Pisces, its energy is going to go retrograde, meaning it's going to get quieter, not as much let's do this. So if any of you are working in a creative or a spiritual kind of community or profession, don't get discouraged if things slow down a little bit in the summer, because the energy is going to shift. I've noticed that people who work in the metaphysical community, I don't know how to put this, they struggle with believing in themselves when they hit a bump in the road.
Yes.
Like, oh, my jewelry's not selling, or oh, no clients are coming to me, or oh, my class didn't go, nobody wants it. I must not be doing what my higher self is wanting. We tend to take that personally. But after June, it's going to slow down a little bit. So be ready for that and just incorporate that into whatever your vision for the year is going to be.
Yeah.
It'll turn direct later on. So it's a good time to study and to organize and to get things together. And it's a different time. It's not something you shouldn't enjoy and use, but just don't be surprised if things get a little quieter over this summer. What are you seeing about this summer? Is that kind of like what you're picking
Yeah,
up?
it is. It is. And that's actually like I can feel a heaviness that actually came in still from last year. It started around, I want to say September, October, November, December, January, February, March. Like it just kind of went like this. The energy did got heavier and heavier. And where I start to feel it come out, shifting in little bits in April, more in May, then June, and then July, August, September, October, and it just and it feels, yes, like you said, it's slower. It's a less frantic, anxious feel to it. Um, More sit back, let's go enjoy the sun with a margarita on the beach. That's the kind of energy that I can feel we're shifting into, but we're still in frantic mode right now. So it's the tools that we need to get through this time, because no matter what, it doesn't matter if we want to bury our head in the sand or not, is the here. So we have to deal with it. So it's what can we do to make sure that we're not taking anger, rage, anxiety, depression, all of that back home, and we're sleeping with that every night, because that gets really annoying and really bad too. So yeah, it on the good note, it is gonna get lighter, um, and definitely right around the same time that you mentioned, I do
I
feel the
love that. We
and
get the same thing, just in a different way.
yeah, yeah, totally, totally. Because I see it in energy and in events and things like that, and it feels lighter, less severe. Than, than what
I
we were.
would say what you just less frantic, less busy, less pushed.
Yes.
We're able to take a breath. Although I do like the margarita on the beach. I'm gonna have to. See
Yeah,
if I can make that happen.
yes, I can't wait for this summer. So, Susan, I should probably wrap it up, but I thank you so much for doing this with me. I would love to have you again back next month. This is fun. I love it because I see it in remote viewing and in visuals and stuff. So to hear, how on par it is with the stars and everything. I love the explanation. So thank you very much for your beautiful, wonderful expertise. Susan, again, I'll ask you to repeat your website just in case anybody
It
wants to
is
go there.
www.exploreastrology.com. Free predictions are out there for every sign. I will also say I send out a newsletter every month on the new moon and the full moon and what it's going to do and how it's going to show up. So if you want to be on it, it's free. Just, private message me, email me with your address. I'll send it to you. So we both have to find that way of sharing with the world and yet somehow making a living. So
Yes.
that's my way of sharing with everybody.
That is wonderful. And I also have a newsletter that you can sign up to that goes out once a month through my website, www.patriciamona.com. And like I said, if you haven't registered for the Quantum Psychic Remote Viewing the Matrix 4-part series, it starts April 10th, and you can find that the description and the sign up on my website. So, Susan, thanks again so much. And I look forward to our next meeting next month. And if for anybody out there watching, if you have not liked and subscribed to my channel, please do so. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time. God bless. God
All
bless.
right. See you in May. Bye.